Welcome back to the Table Rush Talk Show, where we dive deep into the world of entrepreneurship, marketing, and personal growth. I'm your host, Mischa Zvegintzov. Today's guest, Daniel Packard, is a mechanical engineer turned breakthrough specialist who's helped thousands ditch anxiety, perfectionism, and self-doubt for good. Backed by 8 years of R&D and a 90% success rate, Daniel's going to show you why true freedom isn't therapy, it's engineering. Daniel, welcome to the show.
Well, I like that. Amen. Testify. Put that on a bumper sticker. And, sometimes when I speak at conferences, therapists or psychologists will all walk up to me and I'll tell them the data that we have and how we're getting better results than they are. And they'll say, well, who are you? Where did you train? And I said, look, you may have letters at the end of your name, but I'm an engineer and we get results. And when people are in pain, they don't need education. They need results. So absolutely engineering. And as that relates to your audience, the reason that's valuable is we help people that are entrepreneurs, business leaders, people in sales, people that want to scale their business, because what we have done is engineered an approach that helps people with what we call at our company the Funky Five. That's anxiety, procrastination, people pleasing, perfectionism, and low confidence. And low confidence can be caring what people think of you, people needing to like you, fear of rejection, fear of failure. And what I'm going to be sharing with your audience is an understanding how to move beyond managing it and always learning about it and how to actually be free of it quickly. And a really great word in a way that is simple, and an even better word, permanent, because your audience already knows that they struggle with things like anxiety, perfectionism, people pleasing, perfectionism, and low confidence. And that affects sales. When you're a perfectionist or when you need people to like you or make the sale. Procrastination affects productivity, enjoyment, earning potential, people pleasing. You don't always charge what you're worth, the self-doubt. As you can imagine, these things affect your ability to run a business, scale a business, make sales, and also just enjoy work. Your audience already knows this. So they've gone to the books and the retreats and the apps and the coaches and the therapists, and they've tried all that. And what they've noticed, unfortunately, what most people have noticed is that you get tips and tools that allow you to gain awareness and manage it, but you're never really free of it. And what I'm going to be sharing with your audience is the perceptual framework of how it's possible to be free of these things quickly and permanently in a matter of weeks. And this is valuable for yourself, if you want to be happier, make more money, be a better leader, but also what we're going to be sharing with you is scalable. So it can be brought into your company and help your entire team, and measurable. We're working with Google right now to get the entire system into Google because they saw the results we were getting and that it was scalable and systematic and great for smarty pants people. And then also if you have children that are struggling and you feel powerless to help them and send them to therapists, I'm going to help you understand how your children can quickly be much calmer and much more confident. That's what I'm going to be sharing. How is that? How's that for value added on the front end?
Amazing. All right, let's recap. The Funky Five: anxiety, perfectionism, procrastination, people pleasing, and
low confidence. And low confidence, sometimes people say, oh, I don't have low confidence. It can be needing people to like you, caring what people think of you, fear of rejection, fear of failure, self-doubt, and also worry and overthinking. But yes.
Love it. Self-doubt, worry, and overthinking, which people, I like that connection as a reframe of low confidence. That is awesome. Okay, if I heard you say again too, the value, the benefit is for everybody watching, listening right now. And by the way, you can go to danielpackard.com. You can go to danielpackard.com, get all the juicy stuff. He's got a great offer there, which we'll get into in a minute, but you can go there, follow along. Okay, the solution is scalable and systematic. Is that what I heard you say?
Systematic, but more importantly, I'm going to explain how it's possible to be free of the Funky Five permanently, measurably, and in a way that's simple in a matter of weeks. And I'm going to be answering the question, which is, this is for you. If you're listening to this and you've just tried so many things and the behaviors just keep happening. And I'm going to be sharing with you why, no matter what you try, nothing really works, and why the $1 trillion improvement industrial complex keeps taking your money, but never getting you free of this stuff. And I'm going to tell you whose fault it is. Spoiler alert, it's not your fault. It's the people that you trusted. And again, an understanding of how to be free of the Funky Five in a matter of weeks, permanently, and in a way that is simple. Oh, simple.
Amazing and scalable and measurable. So we can scale this with our teams, with our family, with our kids, wives, significant others, and measurable so that we can have literal proof that, hey, I am a calmer person, or my perfectionism has vanished. Whatever. I'm going to let you get all into all that in a minute, but tell me the story. Tell me the story. I know a ton about you and an amazing story, so dive in.
Well, the company, my company's passion, and I've mentioned this word a few times, is results. We're about having systems that get people permanent results, measurable results, and my passion for results comes from my dad, who was a physicist, and he sat me down when I was young, and I don't know why he was telling me at such a young age, but he said, Daniel, anybody can have a theory or an idea, but you don't know who knows what they're talking about. It's the person that gets results. That's who you listen to, and that's who you trust knows what they're talking about. And he said this phrase that stuck with me, which is results matter. And I liked that. I liked the idea that, what matters? Results. And I had this streak in me that I like to invent things. And my dad was kind enough to let me use his workshop. And I would go into his workshop as a young kid, 12, 13, 14 years old. And I would invent things for my bike, for my sailboat. And I would invent things and then test them to see if they get a result. And then they don't in the beginning, but then you improve them until you get a machine that works and gets results. It's very satisfying, but it makes your life better, the actual result. So I went to engineering school to learn how to be properly trained. How do you look at a complex, seemingly unsolvable problem, break it down into smaller mechanical pieces, and then come up with an idea of how to solve the problem and get a result? And then you build a prototype, and then you test it to see if it gets results. And almost it never does in the beginning, but that's feedback. And then you understand how to refine the prototype and calibrate and refine until you get a machine that is consistent and gets results. It's very satisfying. And so the good news is that I had a skill, and I was trained how to make machines that work and get results. The downside was they didn't teach me how to make life work. So yes, I could make a robot that could play ping pong, but I had anxiety, procrastination, people pleasing, perfectionism, and low confidence. And I knew there was a better version of me, a happier version of me, but I didn't have access to it because of all that stuff. And like your audience, I go looking for help. I go to, coaches, retreats. I read the books, therapists, gurus. I was probably in a cult. I was definitely in a cult. And, I spent 10 years and $100,000. And, the Funky Five was better. I had some insights to make it better, but honestly, it wasn't gone. And I was still just doing this stuff over and over and over again. And again, I knew there was a happier, more fulfilled, more joyful, more productive version of me in there. But because nothing I tried solved anything, I was still happening. And not only was I sort of sad, but I was kind of pissed off that I had worked so hard and I worked on myself, but it's still showing up. And I remember one day I kind of looked up at whoever's up there pulling the strings. And I was just like, what the fudge? What do you want from me? What? I know this is a test, but I've been at this 10 years. I've been going to the retreats and I've been reading the books and been doing it. It's still here. What do you want from me? And I was just being rhetorically angry. I didn't really expect a response, but I hear this sort of, not a voice, but I get sort of a voice, an inner big voice that's just said, results matter. And what it helped me see is that all this stuff I'd tried, the coaches, the apps, the books, the therapy, the retreats, it didn't get very good results. This entire $1 trillion, what I call the improvement industrial complex, doesn't get great results. It takes a lot of money, but leaves you stuck repeating these same patterns. And I said, that's not good results. And I'm not the only one. And I'm struggling and I can't get better results. And the whole world is just spending all this money and they're never free of it. This is a problem. And I realized, oh, I'm good at getting results. And so in that moment, I had this sort of naive vision, but I started my own research company, Full Liberation Technology, with the mission to see, would it be possible to use engineering to solve this problem, which is to create something simple such that people could be free of the funky five and have it be simple, measurable, and address the root cause quickly. And we didn't know if it was possible. But the thing about engineers is we just go after it. And we go after it until we solve it. And it was way harder than I thought. It took 8 years, over $1 million in R&D. We worked with thousands of people. We worked with addicts in South Africa. We worked with athletes in Europe. We worked with entrepreneurs in the US. I worked with monks in India. And after 8 years and that $1 million spent, we finally developed a system that is simple and allows you to address the root cause such that in a matter of weeks and with a 90% success rate, what you're struggling with, you're free of permanently. And I can speak from experience because I have used these tools longer than anybody. And I used to be an anxious, insecure, procrastinating, people-pleasing, anxious overthinker. You name it, I did it. And now I wake up every morning and I just feel calm. And my mind is quiet and it even says nice things to me. And on a cellular level, I really mean this. I really do not care at all what people think of me. And all of this allows me to have a life where I'm just much calmer, much more present, much more joy, much more energy, and make just a much bigger impact. So if you're listening to this, the only difference, I'm not enlightened. I don't know anything. I've just used a set of tools that were engineered instead of from therapists who don't always get the job done.
The improvement industrial complex. I love that. I've never heard it termed that way before, but it definitely resonates with me. I also think about the industrial medical complex, of course, and the pills that are prescribed. Riff on that for a minute.
Well, I coined the phrase because we know that there are these industrial complexes and we are skeptical of them. The military industrial complex. Oh, we're building up this military. That's a problem. Or the prison industrial complex. We know that's a problem. It needs to be better. But then the personal development, spiritual, therapeutic industry, we're way too trusting. We don't look at it with the same critical eye. But in my opinion, on some level, it is just as corrupt. By corrupt, I mean it's well-intentioned people, but it's corrupt in that the entire industry, it's $1 trillion a year with a T. And the reason it's $1 trillion industry is it never solves anything. And the more research I did is they're not even trying to solve it, which I think is out of integrity. And also, they don't measure anything. You just go to these things. They don't measure where you start or at the end and whether they help you or not. They just take your money and they're not bothered by it. And so I'm trying to raise people's awareness of like, hey, you know, that coach, that therapist that you like, that guru that you like, that book that you like, great. These are well-intentioned people, but this industry has a results problem. They have no problem taking your money, but they do have a problem delivering results. And so I'm trying to raise people's awareness of like, you deserve better. Our company is our answer to that, but I'm trying to raise awareness of like, before you spend more money on that coach, that therapist, that retreat, be suspicious and ask yourself, should I trust these people really, truly to get the job done?
Good. I listened to your 45-minute presentation, 95-minute presentation, however long it is. Um, you talked about a catalyst for change for you or wanting to dive deeper into this solution even more was a breakup. You mind talking about that?
Uh, yeah. I mean, it's hard to believe that anybody would ever break up with me. I mean, you're looking at me and you're thinking, my God, I hope I don't get pregnant from his raw animal magnetism. I know, but not everybody is as wise as your audience. Well, the pain that led to really me developing my company is I was in a relationship, and the people pleasing and the perfectionism and the insecurity, the self doubt. I stayed in an abusive relationship longer than I should have. And when it was over, I had crippling PTSD, which meant just the tiniest thing, and my entire system would go into terror. And that was on top of already the anxiety and the procrastination and the self doubt. But I was in so much pain that I went to all these gurus and therapists and coaches and retreats, and it just none of it got to the root cause. And I was in so much pain, and that's what motivated me to start my company. And I want to explain what we discovered that makes it possible, because your audience is listening to this thinking, well, that sounds great. I'd love to be free of the funky five, but they're going to be skeptical. So I want to help your audience understand how it's not only possible, but simple. And these are the key breakthroughs that my company made that make this possible. Can I share that with your audience?
Yeah. Can I ask you a question first?
Sure.
Because I think what is so valuable or interesting here is the fact somebody watching or listening is probably heading into the situation that you were just talking about in some version, right? Uh, break up with a significant other. Maybe a kid is running wild, like a kid going through their own emotional issues or addictions or whatever it is can create massive psychic damage for a parent, especially if you start having multiple things going on. Or let's say there's all this tariff stuff going on, or volatility in the markets right now. So depending on your attachment to that, or maybe what's happening in the environment has created a shift in your business. So I know that when my hand was forced and I went into that existential crisis mode, man, I felt, being a generally positive guy, and all of a sudden I felt depressed. And I was like, whoa, I'm depressed and there's perhaps no way out. And not that I had suicidal ideations myself, but I was like, oh, I started thinking, oh, I see why people would perhaps kill themselves, for example. Um, right, because your brain takes over, you get in those thought loops. There's no way out, or the time that it looks like it's going to take to make it through it seems like too long. What else could I say? I mean, when I've gone through career upheaval and the financial stresses and things like that, so I think giving people, I'll let you take it from here if you want to speak to any of that, like thoughts, feelings, actions before and after. What I mean, let's get
Well,
real on
I
what.
think what I would share, and I'm always trying to share that perspective that will be most helpful to your audience that they haven't heard before.
Okay.
And what you just shared is a perspective that people have, which is, oh, this thing is happening in the outside world. My business is tanking, my relationship is tanking or has tanked, my kids are struggling, the government this. And then I felt this. Then I felt terrified. Then I got depressed. And that language suggests that the outside world, that the cause was kind of the outside world. That's what it looks like, because you were kind of fine and then this thing happened and now I'm not fine. And that's a fundamental misunderstanding of the problem. Essentially, what I'm going to share with your audience is there are little things that we are doing every day that we don't know what we're doing. And essentially, our entire system is ready to crash. It's fragile. And then the breakup or the business or the bank account going down or my child is struggling, that is just pressure that hits your system, but your system isn't strong, and so you crash. And I can tell you this is the case because people came to us during the pandemic saying, oh my God, the pandemic is making me anxious. Well, it looks that way, but several people within 2 weeks went through our system during the pandemic, claiming the pandemic's making me anxious. Our system goes to the root cause and it strengthens your whole system. You have a solid foundation, and they were the calmest they'd ever been during the pandemic. So this idea that you're anxious because is not accurate. That just puts pressure on your system. But if you have a strong system, you can feel the pressure of challenge, but you won't crash. I had a client reach out to me who thought that his anxiety and his insecurity was caused by his breakup, because he had a breakup and then he was anxious and insecure. And he's like, oh, I think it's from my breakup. So he did our 6-week program that really strengthens his system from the inside out. And he sent me a message last week. It was really freeing. He said, hey, I just broke up with a girl, a little bit sad, kind of don't care. This is awesome. And I thought, hallelujah. So no, the reason you feel crappy, it's not your business. It's not your hormones. It's not society. It's not what your dad did to you, or the mean things your dad said to you. That stuff just makes life hard. But I'm going to explain to you the real reason that we'd feel this stuff so much. It's how much you feel it. And I'm going to explain to you how to make it so that your system is strong and resilient, so that when the shit hits the fan, it doesn't smell like poop. It smells like incense.
I love it. If I heard you correctly, it almost sounded like you said that, or were saying that we just get to a point in life where our system is melting down or has hit that point, and then we just find a circumstance to attach to it. So, oh, the pandemic, oh, the job, oh, this, oh, that, which may be true. It might apply that final bit of stress to like help us hit bottom, shall we say. And so perhaps anyone who's hitting bottom, could be a great solution to help them get through, come out, healthier system, whatever. I'll let you talk to all of that. But that was my perception of it. It sounds like as well, we've got a whole stream of people that have gone through life and they have some version of this funky five. So it's not even like they're hitting bottom or outside circumstances are getting worse, better, whatever. It's just, I just want to be free of this gnawing funky five that's been the background noise of my life, or for 15 years, 20 years, or something like that.
Yes, when you're in extreme pain and PTSD or heartbreak, and you're in these really lows. Yes, people come to us. People dealing with addiction, they come to us in the super lows. But most of the world, what's costly is not these super horrible moments of life, although we've all had them. Most of life is this background noise of these patterns, the perfectionism, the people pleasing, and it's spinning at a low grade underneath, just robbing you of joy and productivity and fulfillment. And it's dangerous because it's right under the surface. Life's not bad, but it ain't great either. And you can't get to great. The beauty of this program is you are then free of it. It's like you're metaphorically, everybody's like a hot air balloon, in that it's just meant to rise. But these patterns, these behaviors are like sandbags that weigh us down. And so what people do is they work on themselves and they get an app or they read a book or they do some things. And what it allows them to get is get underneath the hot air balloon and like push and push and push and push. But a lot of that energy is offsetting the sandbags. And you can get the hot air balloon about 10 feet off the ground. But if you ever stop pushing, what happens? The hot air balloon just like falls down. And you're like, God damn it, what's wrong with me? And you're exhausted. So what I'm going to share with your audience is, how do you cut those sandbags? Because when you cut the sandbags, then all that energy that used to just go into pushing and pushing and pushing is all of a sudden now like a rocket on your hot air balloon that is naturally meant to rise. So not only do you feel better faster, but you have so much more energy because your energy is going into living the life you want to live instead of just offsetting your crap. Damn, that's a good metaphor.
It's a great metaphor. Give me 30 seconds on, I'm guessing, what do I want to say here? I'm thinking quickly. Most people watching, listening to this right now are in some, probably have boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, kid or two, or maybe an ex-wife, things like that. And your whole view of your family relationship could be shifted due to this, or your relationships are richer. Stress can be pulled out. Normally, where you're having stress with family, friends, wives, kids, exes, whatever, husbands, boyfriends, girlfriends, now you are having a shift there as well. Is that a accurate assessment,
So
or
I could go on and on with story upon story upon story about the value of how we help people. It is so broad and helps people. The reason I don't want to go into it is because unless your audience understands how we do it, I'm just going to sound like just another person who thinks that they can help people. And they're going to think, well, this sounds great, but will it work for me? So the answer is yes. But unless I tell you how this is even possible, the real value is not how many ways we can help people. The real value is how we made it simple, that we made it step by step, and that we made it mechanical and measurable. And unless I explain to your audience how that's possible, they're just going to be too skeptical, and I'm going to sound like just another person that's over-promising and under-delivering. So I'm going to explain to you how this is possible. Also, at the end, I'm going to send your audience to my website, danielpackard.com, to download a free 90-minute training, the same training that Mischa listened to, where you're going to experience firsthand the value of what we do. There's no charge. We just want to give you value and help you really feel how this system can work for you, because I know that you're skeptical when you hear me talking and say, you can be free of it in 6 weeks. You've heard some version of that before. So I want you to experience this firsthand, to not only trust that this is possible and that it can be simple and that you can be free of it, but also that you can have hope. So now I'm just going to explain to you the breakthroughs that we came up with that make this simple, so it'll at least make sense, because that leads to hope. Sound good?
That sounds amazing. Go.
All right. So when we went to solve this, we approached it like engineers. And the reason this is valuable is because engineers are problem solvers. There's a lot of well-intentioned therapists and coaches and gurus and teachers. They're well-intentioned, but they're just regurgitating old information. It's the same stuff that people are buying over and over and over again. It's just repackaged, but it's not getting the job done. So you don't want people that regurgitate old information. You want people that are innovators. That's what engineers are. We're really good at innovating, because we have an innovation, solve it mindset, not create a program and sell it mindset. Solve it first, then maybe sell it later. So we approach this like engineers. And the first thing that engineers do is we try to figure out and we make things simple. If you understand things simply, you probably know what's going on. Einstein's big innovation was E equals MC squared. He took something very complicated, made it simple. Newton took all of motion on planet Earth and got it down to 3 laws. He made it simple. And we looked at the entire improvement industrial complex, and we just said, this is super complicated. It is not clear what to do or when. Is it my ego? Is it my trauma? Is it my negative self-talk that I do not follow my heart? Should I listen to this thing? Should I listen to that thing? Should I do an ice bucket challenge? Should I walk on hot coals? Is it my past? Is it my future? Is it my mother? It's Have you noticed how exhausting and confusing it is?
Yes, it's insane the amount of quick fixes, the solutions. I mean, it gets to be like, I was literally thinking this morning as I was eating my what did I have this morning? I made a half a tuna sandwich with tuna on the side and tomatoes and avocados and a bunch of fruit. And I was like, somebody is not happy with this meal right now. Somebody is out there going, oh no, you're eating the wrong thing. To have, proper this, that, or the other, this is what you need to be eating. And I'm like, seems like perfectly fine to me. Anyway, to back up what you're saying, yes, someone has an opinion or an idea that they will gladly throw at us.
They'll gladly throw at us, and they're all so confident, and none of it really gets the job done, and it's super confusing. And it's not clear who to listen to, for how long, what to do. It's confusing, and that's part of the corruption is that all these experts are claiming, but they're not experts. Why? Because if they were real experts, they would solve your problem. When you go to the doctor and you have a broken leg, he doesn't go, well, this could be your mindset. It could be you're focusing on leg. It could be that your dad made you play hopscotch too much when you were a kid. It could be that, no, there's just one thing. It's one thing. Your bone, which, should be in one piece, is in two pieces. Okay, we're going to put a cast on your bone, and in 6 weeks, it's healed. It's simple. That's an expert. So it's super confusing because these people don't actually know what's going on enough to solve it. And we said, well, let's just try to make this simple. So here's the first major simple innovation that is simple. Okay?
Ready.
We are taught, and it feels like we have multiple problems. Let me say that again. We are taught, and it feels like we have multiple problems. I am a procrastinator. I am a people pleaser. I have low self-esteem. I have anxiety. I am an anxious person. It feels like you have multiple problems. And what the research showed is you do not have multiple problems. We have multiple symptoms of one thing, which is fear. Let me say that again. You do not have multiple problems. You have multiple symptoms of one thing, which is fear. What does that mean? Well, you could say you're a people pleaser, or you could say you're afraid that people won't like you, so you put them first and yourself last. You could say you're a perfectionist, or you could say you have a fear of making a mistake. You could say you're a procrastinator, or you could say you have a fear of starting and or finishing things. You could say you have low confidence. Or you could say you have a fear of being your natural, true, authentic self. Can you see that on some level, the Funky Five and really almost everything that people struggle with is in some ways just a symptom of being afraid of something? Does that make sense?
It absolutely makes sense. There's a piece of literature that I love that talks about fear being an evil and corroding thread that shot through our lives, and that we perhaps need to find a solution for that. And I love what you're saying. People say it's this, it's that, it's the other thing, blah, 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 blah. The root cause is fear, and everything stems from that.
Yes. And that's kind of not the way we're taught. I used to think I was a procrastinator. Like I caught it like cooties. I didn't have procrastination. I had a fear. And then the procrastination was a symptom. Now, it makes sense, but that's not what we're sold by the improvement industrial complex. They keep sending us to the symptom level. So, of course, we never solve it because they're always just giving us Band-Aids. That's where they make all the money, is just constant Band-Aids, because they don't address the root cause, which is fear. And I'm telling your audience this so that if you've tried to solve this stuff and you can't, it's not your fault. The experts sent you to the symptom level and you never had a chance. That's why you can't get free of this stuff. And so just the perspective that the root cause is fear, I'm going to show you how to address the fear, means that we can address the root cause. And when you address the root cause, the symptoms go away and leave you alone. I had a client who had procrastination, he claimed, basically since he was a teenager. And he was trying to scale his business from 10 people up to a 100-person business. And everything was in place. But he said, I keep procrastinating. I keep stalling. I said, I know. He said, I have spent almost $500,000 on coaches and therapists and apps and books, and I still do it. I don't know why. What's wrong with me? I said, there's nothing wrong with you. You were just sent to the symptom level. You never stood a chance. So when we helped him go to the root cause, in 6 weeks, the fear went away. Surprise, surprise, the procrastination went away. So his productivity went up, his focus went up, his joy went up, his sales went up. And within, I think, 3 years, he scaled the company from 10 people up to 60 people, and it's still growing. And that's the power of at least going to the correct root cause.
I love it.
I'm going to explain to you more about where the fear is coming from and how to solve it. But first, do you have any questions?
No, fire. I feel like I've hijacked the conversation enough. I want to make sure we're maximizing the time we have left. So fire on, my friend.
Okay. So your audience gets that fear is an issue, even if they, didn't. It's an interesting way to look at things, like, oh, I don't have these problems, I just have some fear. But whether I share that perspective or not, your audience already knows fear is an issue. No one's sitting there thinking, oh, I didn't know that was a problem. We know fear gets in the way. However, as you addressed, people don't solve the fear. We have overcoming the fear, face the fear, change your mindset around the fear. That is great short term. Short term, you can override the fear. You can white knuckle it. You can reframe it. You can change your mindset around it. But if you don't solve the fear, it comes back 5 minutes, 5 hours, or 5 days later and holds you back. That's why these loops persist, because the fear isn't gone. And we said, well, if we want people free of this, we have to get people free of the fear. If we were free of fear, the symptoms go away. We get to be the people we want to be, and life is better. Agreed?
Agreed.
Okay. Have you heard of change, overcome the fear, face the fear, change your mindset around the fear? You've heard that, but have you ever heard about someone try to solve the fear?
No.
Yeah. Which is sad. Fear's what's making the planet going crazy pants magoo, and all these quote unquote experts never thought to actually just go solve the root cause. This is why I say this industry is corrupt. They're not even trying. They're happily selling Band-Aids because that's where the money is. So we said, all right, the way that we approach fear gets horrible results. So let's look at what we're taught and see if it's actually true. Because if it's not getting results, it's probably not as true as people claim. So we are told that fear is a problem of the mind, right? Change your mindset, quiet your ego, change your scarcity thinking, cognitive behavioral therapy, cognition in the mind, mental health, mental in the mind. We're given pills to target the neurotransmitters in our brain. Can you see it on some level? When we think of fear, we think that it's a problem of the mind. Yes. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense. We think the fear comes first.
Right.
The
and it looks like it could be true, right?
Yes.
We have scary thoughts and negative thoughts, and then we feel scared and negative. One problem, this theory of the fears coming from the mind gets horrible results. Modern psychology has been around 100 years. Anxiety's on the rise. That's bad results. So we said, well, is it coming from the mind? Let's double check the math. And because we were trying to solve, we asked this question. We challenged the old paradigm, and we realized fear is not originating in the mind. Fear actually originates not in the mind, but in the body. When you have anxiety, do you say, I think anxious or I feel anxious?
I feel anxious.
Yeah. And where do you feel it? Your chest, heart, throat, stomach. Does that sound like the mind to you or the body?
Clearly sounds like the body.
It sounds like it's the body because it is the body. Now, sometimes people say, well, no. It starts in my mind and then it spreads to the body. No. Now, it feels that way, but if you study this and you want a solution, you realize that's not the way we are engineered. We are engineered such that our body feels things first, then our mind senses what's in the body and is like a little supercomputer to solve the problem in the body. We feel hunger in the body first, then our mind senses the hunger and then figures out how to get food. If you're out in the jungle and you hear a noise in the bushes, you'll feel fear in the body first. Then the mind senses that fear and goes, uh-oh, there's a problem, and tries to solve the problem. For reasons which I'll explain, there's little things your audience is doing that they don't know that they're doing that's creating low-level to high-level fear in the body first. Then the mind senses the fear in the body and goes, oh no, there's a problem. You suck. You got to make more money. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Your dad was right. And starts to create this fear in the mind, which then makes the body feel worse and you get stuck in this loop. But mechanically, and we know this because our system addresses the body, fear originates in the body and spreads to the mind. So what that means is, and I know this firsthand, is if you quiet the fear in the body, which is what we teach and show you how, your body is calm, but then guess what? Your mind just goes quiet. And people say that's impossible. I have a quiet mind. I used to have the grumpy judges from the Muppets on meth in my head, just raining hell onto me. And I thought, oh, my mind is the problem. But now I have a calm body, calm mind. Not only do I have a quiet mind, when my mind does talk, it says nice things. I woke up this morning. I'm not making this up. I'm getting older. I'm losing my hair. I got some wrinkles. I'm not making this up. I looked in the mirror today and I said, I'd do me, because that's what happens. And so I'm explaining this to you so that you understand the root cause of fear is in the body. So why does this matter? You were sent to the mind, which is the symptom. That's why your mind won't shut up, because the fear in the body hasn't been addressed. And so again, the reason you can't quiet your mind permanently, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. It's that the expert sent you literally to the wrong location. And when you go to the right location, all that work that you do is so much more effective. And I cannot tell you the value of having a quiet mind and a quiet body. I had a client, she was an architect from Vancouver, and she said, I'm anxious all the time and my mind won't shut up and it's super critical and it says all these negative things. And I try meditation, I do all these things, and at best it's temporary. And I said, yeah, it's because you're just trying, it's temporary because you're at the symptom level. And I said, fear is coming from the body. And she said, that's not true. I've studied this teacher, that teacher. And I said, yeah, but you followed that teacher. Did that get your mind permanently quiet? She said, no. And I said, look, we have a program that has a 90% success rate. And with our program, you don't pay at the beginning. You only pay at the end when your body and mind are completely quiet. She said, wait, what? I pay at the end when I get results? I said, that's the way we do it. Results matter. She said, well, I got to try this. So she went through our 6-week program. Around week 4, she sent me a message and she said, you're right. There's nothing wrong with me. The fear was the body. And now with these tools, my body is calm and my mind is calm. And she said, for the first time in my life, I just had a quiet, calm, peaceful day. I actually got to feel joy. And the reason I'm sharing with you is she did that not because she was enlightened. It's just because that's what happens when you get sent tools that actually go to the correct location. Can you see that if you actually go to the correct location of the root cause, you're going to get better results than going to the symptom level?
Of course, I would say, would you want to do chemo and then keep doing chemo and then keep doing chemo, or would you like to root out the cancer?
I mean, it's a perfect metaphor. And when you say it that way, people go, of course, get to the root cause. But look at everything that you've tried in personal development, spirituality, and thought, wow, this is a great idea. And then it didn't work, but we didn't stop and go, wait a minute, this isn't working. That's what I'm trying to wake people up to. I went to this retreat called like Overcoming Your Fears. And I thought, oh, that sounds great. $5,000, $5,000 came out of it. Felt good for a couple days. 1 week later, I'm on the couch eating Cheetos again. And no part of me went, man, this is a sucker game. That's what I'm trying to wake people up. You would never, the stuff that we tolerate from the coaches and the therapists, the reads, we would never tolerate in any other industry. Can you imagine if you took your car to a mechanic with a squeaky brake and you came back and spent $5,000 and 2 weeks later, the mechanic said, hey, I'm going to help you gain some more awareness about your car. And I'm going to help you really change your mindset around your car. And I think that maybe the reason your car, no, you'd be like, what? I just gave you $5,000. Did you fix it or not? You wouldn't tolerate what we spend on personal development. So again, if this resonates with you at all, and you want to do something that's just built to be simple and effective, this is what we're offering. And to give you a sample, again, the 90-minute training that I'm going to send your audience at the end at my website, it will help all this make sense. It's going to help you understand where the fear is coming from in a way that is simple. And again, you're going to apply one of our techniques and you're going to be, I hate using this word because it's overused, you may be shocked by how much better you feel. Now, Mischa, you did the 90-minute training that I want to send your audience. And at the end, we have you use one of our techniques and then measure to see if you feel either calmer or less afraid. When you applied the technique, did you feel better or different?
When I applied the technique, I definitely felt better and different. I think that's what you just asked me. Yes, I did.
Yeah. And you felt it.
And I felt it. And as a matter of fact, when you're like, I think you asked the question on the training or you reference how we feel on the training. And I was like, it was a little rhetorical perhaps on the training, or maybe it was for some people need a little bit more time from the what you were teaching us on there. But literally I was like, duh, I feel better. I was like, oh my God, like what? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, 0. I mean, like the stress level going to 0. The yeah, that was my thought. I was like, duh. Anyway, I don't know if that
Wait,
helps,
just for clarity, because you
but
said something that's impressive, and I know what you're talking about, but when you say it went to 0, meaning there was something that was creating some fear and anxiety, and then you measured it, and then you applied the technique, and then you're saying that that number went down to 0.
yes,
Yeah, in
yeah,
5 minutes.
in five
And
minutes.
so the engineer in me is like, but that's results. That's results. But also the other part that makes it even better is you said, duh. Because what we teach, is it complicated or simple?
Duh. It's simple.
It's so effing simple. It works better and it's simple, but it also, because it's simple, it works better. Now, the way we made it simple is partly because we were smart and we wanted to make it simple, because if things aren't simple, if you can't stick with it, then it's complicated and then you don't get results. We wanted something that was easy to do, anybody could do. That's why if you have a parent and you have children, this is dead simple. This is what they should teach in schools. And we help a lot of parents reach out to us and have us help their children, because what you have right now, the option for kids right now, it's not getting the job done. But the reason it's simple is because once you're in the body in some ways is complicated, but in some ways is simple, because the body is made up of systems. You have
Hey,
the skeleton. What?
I just got to interrupt you and just say the solution being offered parents for their kids are pills, ADHD medicine, this kind of medicine, benzodiazepines, all kinds of gnarly stuff that the industrial medical complex and the therapists and the psychologists, they don't even know like what's working. And it's insane. And I'm going to say this, and this is just an opinion. I'm going to say 1 out of 10 people that are put on some sort of medication like that probably should be on that. It's probably being overprescribed to the other 9. Now, that could be ignorance on my end. Anybody watching, listening, I am sorry. But having 2 kids, 2 boys, and the go-to solution is your child has ADHD, they need medicine and pills, prescription pills. It's like an epidemic out there. I you Why all the band-aids is a question. Another great question is supposedly with all this great stuff in the happening in the world, why are more and more people depressed? People like to blame it on social media, this, that, and the other thing. I don't mean to bring up all these rabbit holes,
Well, no,
but
it's very important, because this is a huge pain. We are watching our young people die on the vine, and the people that we trust, the mental health experts, are not getting the job done, and it's a real problem. This is why I started my company. This is why I speak in schools, is to get this understanding to the young people, because I mean, I don't know which is worse, having a planet that's heating up or having children that wake up every morning completely anxious. I'm working with, she's at the end of our 6-week program. She had crippling anxiety that was made worse. She was a competitive figure skater, and she couldn't enjoy figure skating because she was anxious all the time. But then when she would figure skate, she would mess up because she was anxious. She had tried everything. She was unhappy. She was depressed. She didn't want to go on. And her mom was just like, it's heartbreaking. I care for her. She has so much potential and I can't do anything. She heard about the work that we're doing, the fact that we have 90% success rate, 6 weeks, address the root cause. You only pay at the end when you get results. And so now her child wakes up every morning, calm, confident, enjoys ice skating again, but more importantly, now has a solid foundation to fulfill their potential, which is what all parents want. But the other piece, going back to the experts, mental health experts, they call themselves experts. Anxiety's on the rise. That's horrible results. Don't call yourself experts if you get bad results. Also, it's not even in the mind. It's in the body. You're in the wrong location, but you're experts. This is how corrupt it is. First of all, If you're an expert at something, you don't call yourself an expert. Hi, I'm LeBron James. I'm a basketball expert. If you're an expert, let other people call you experts, mental health experts. Really, what are your results? They're horrible. So don't call yourself an expert. Stop it, because then people trust you and they fail and they feel more broken. Just say, we don't know how to solve this. I've got some pills. I am a pill prescriber. I'm a teen listener. Okay, fine. But don't call yourself an expert unless you're solving. I was flying last month, and there was this guy who had an emotional support animal. And I talked to him. He said, yeah, my therapist, who's a mental health expert, recommended that I take this dog with me on the plane. And I said, okay. And I said, does it help? And he said, yeah. I mean, I have crippling anxiety, but when I have the dog, I'm a little bit calmer. Now, I get why he has the dog, but think about it. He said there's a mental health expert. So this expert basically says, you're struggling. I know. Here's a dog. Here's a dog. That's your expert solution, is to hand someone over 50,000-year-old. Here's a dog. If all you have to offer someone who's in crippling pain is a warm mammal, fine, but don't call yourself an expert, for the love of God. Don't even charge for that. Here's a dog. Are you kidding me? Jesus. Here's a hamster. $200, please.
Oh my God. I just so good. Really quick. The corporations, any so the corporations are driven by profit, right? And we know that. And I'm not saying that's good, bad, or indifferent, but it does set up a scenario. If you have a corporation that is driven by profits and they are selling pills and they're selling day-to-day or month-to-month solutions, they are going to want to keep you in that reoccurring revenue model as long as they can. So they're actually not enticed by legal corporate structure to help you deal with the root cause. They can help you mask the symptoms. And then once that mask doesn't work anymore, they rebalance you onto another one or another one or another one or another one or another one. Just a humble man's opinion. And as a matter of fact, if the industrial medical complex or the corporations don't prioritize profits, they can be sued by their shareholders who say, hey, you're actually trying to help people here. You're not putting profits first. So they can be sued and they can lose. Anyway, just a thought. Continue, sir.
Well, I just want to be clear. I think your therapists, your coaches, your gurus, your teachers, I think they mean well. I don't think they're purely profit driven, but they are incentivized not to solve this. But my issue with them is they're just not even trying to solve. They don't have a problem with the management. It's just they're okay with it. And I'm not okay with it. Results matter. Our mission was to get people free of this. And if we can't help you, we don't charge you, because I don't feel good. If we can't help you, we're not going to charge you. So my issue is not that they're, just profit driven or Machiavellian, but my issue is it doesn't bother them that they don't get results. And when they don't get your results, they'll still charge you. We don't. Now, we have that luxury where we can run a business because our what we do is so effective. We have this, what we call our no change, no charge guarantee, where we only, as you go through our program, you measure your symptoms with our app. You're tracking it. So by the end, and we know that you got significant improvement. So what does that mean? Well, this was 2 months ago, a gentleman who came to us for procrastination. And when he started, we measured that his focus was only about 15 minutes at a time. He could only work on his business consistently for about 2 hours a day. And the amount of time and his energy levels were at about 5 out of 10 because he was constantly starting and stopping and starting. It was very exhausting. So by the time he was done with our 6-week program, the ability to focus went from 50 minutes at a time up to 90 minutes at a time. his energy levels went from about 5 out of 10 up to, I think it was like 8.5 out of 10. And the number of hours per day that he could work on what he wanted to work on and be productive went up to, on average, 6 hours per day. And we know that because we tracked it. That's the value of having a simple system that addresses the root cause. Again, results matter to us. Now, the reason that we're able to do that, and I'll give you the final kind of big breakthrough that makes this all make sense, is how we do this. How do we address the fear in the body? Because even if people say, okay, fear's in the body, how do you get rid of fear? Well, you're an engineer. You figure out where fear is coming from. So we said, okay, the body is a great place to look because it's systems. It's the skeletal system. The heart is a system. Your teeth are a system. Your eyes are a system. It's all systems. And systems are appealing to engineers because we know systems can fail and cause problems, but systems can be repaired. So to make things simple, we said, all right, is there a system in the body that might be responsible for the fear? And if we can figure out this system, we can repair the system. And again, this is trying to find a solution. And once we asked the right questions, the answer was very obvious and very simple. So simple that you probably already intuitively know it. Here. Okay, here's pop quiz. Okay, let's take out the word fear and take out the word anxiety and swap in the word nervous. Let's just say people are experiencing different versions of nervousness. Lots of nervousness is anxiety, a little bit of nervous is worry, and medium nervousness creates self-doubt, procrastination, people-pleasing, and all that. But let's just use the word nervous, okay? So, pop quiz. If you had to guess what system in the body is most likely malfunctioning and making everybody nervous? Okay, I'll repeat the question again. What system in the body do you think is most likely malfunctioning and making everybody nervous? Do you think it's the skeletal system, the dental system, or C, the nervous system?
Hold on. All right. My incredible powers of intuition, I will say C, just to keep it going. The nervous system.
Yes, and why do you answer that people feel nervous from the nervous system? Why, wise sage person?
Because their nervous system isn't functioning properly.
And making everybody nervous. It's the obvious answer. It's got the word right in it. The entire planet is experiencing different degrees of nervousness. There's a system in the body literally called the nervous system. And the experts are like, no, this is a scarcity mindset. No expert dog prescriber. It's a nervous system issue. It's got the word nervous right there. The answer is literally under our nose. So your nervous system is your body's natural threat response system. If you have a healthy nervous system, you feel a feeling which all humans want to feel, which is safe. If, however, your nervous system is malfunctioning, which it is, you will feel like there's a threat when there isn't one, and you will feel unsafe. When you feel unsafe, it gives rise to fear, nervousness, and anxiety. And then the fear, nervousness, and anxiety give rise to the anxiety, the procrastination, the people-pleasing, the perfectionism, and the low self-confidence. So can you see the simple mechanical link that if you have a nervous system that can malfunction and make you feel like there's a threat and you feel unsafe, which creates fear and then creates these symptoms of fear called the Funky Five. Can you see that direct mechanical link?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay. And is that a complicated answer or is it simple?
It's very simple.
Yes. So you do not have people-pleasing and perfectionism. Those are all just symptoms of your nervous system basically malfunctioning, creates a perceived threat that isn't there. You feel unsafe, which creates the fear and then creates the symptom. This is not theory. What we teach is a way for people to bring their nervous system back to health over 6 weeks. You get all the tools in one place, simple, easy to follow instructions that where it's really easy to do. You can't mess up. And if you follow the steps, you get the result, which is in 6 weeks, your nervous system comes back to health. When your nervous system comes back to health, your default is to just feel safe from the inside out. So let me ask you a question. If you woke up every morning, I'm saying this to you, Mischa, and your audience. If you woke up every morning and just your default, the way you woke up naturally, was that you felt safe and calm from the inside out, how would that make you better as a parent, as a partner, as a business owner? How would your life be better or different if you just woke up feeling safe from the inside out?
The energy that you're putting elsewhere would now be channeling to creativity, to love, to all these different things. Those are my words. I'll let the audience listening, whatever came to them. But I'm in this space right now, like, man, I want to be channeling God's creation. I just want to be in the flow. Before we hit start on this episode, TBD on whether we're going to enter it on this podcast episode, you woke up and said, man, or you didn't wake up. You said to me, literally, you said, you know what, this past weeks or 10 days or whatever it is, 2 weeks, I'm going to try to stop having an agenda or achieve, my words, not yours. And then when you were applying your techniques or doing what you do and you let all that go, it created the space for, I'll just use my own words, God's beautiful creation. That's what I'd say.
Yeah. And that was the important thing to realize is I woke up every morning just feeling calm. But the key is not that I was calm. The key is that was my default. It's not that I felt anxious, worried, have to, then applied a bunch of techniques and then calm down. Meditation will do that. Good sex will do that. A good Netflix show will do that. Temporarily. For me, it's my default. I wake up. That's just how I wake up. And the beauty of that, and we know this, is it unlocks your potential to all things that you want. And how do we know this? That's how kids are. Kids, basically, the fear hasn't kicked in yet. So kids are the best version of you. That 5-year-old version of you was confident, open-hearted, authentic, creative. You'll never hear a 5-year-old say, I'm thinking of going to the park, but I have a lot of doubt about my ability to play tag. And I'd really like to finger paint, but I kind of have sabotage syndrome. No, they're just full of potential because the fear isn't there. So this is what we want for people. Yes, people come to us to be free of the funky 5, but here's the value. If once those sandbags are cut, it unlocks you to be more joyful and to truly access your gifts. And you have so much more energy. You know how exhausting it is to be low level, afraid all the time? We're not built for that. But also because it all is one root cause, multiple symptoms in multiple areas of your life will improve. People come to us for one funky 5 symptom. But because it's all one root cause, they see multiple improvements in multiple areas of our life. I had a gentleman who was a truck driver. Well, he owned his own business. He had his own fleet of trucks, and he had anxiety, perfectionism, and people pleasing. And and ADHD. And he came to me and he said, it's hard for me to get going. My business is struggling. I'm not happy. I'm anxious all the time. I'm exhausted. He had tried everything. And he said, I met somebody that did your program and they swore by it. Around week 5, I was talking to him and he said, I didn't even know you could be this calm. And he said, but it's not just feeling calm. He said, I'm not procrastinating anymore. I'm way more productive. I'm enjoying my work. I'm fun to be around. So my employees are more loyal. The business is getting bigger without me doing anything because people are just drawn to me and my happier, more joyful energy. He said, my kids are much closer to me right now. I'm just a much better father and better husband. My entire life is better. Thank you. And he made a joke. He said, do you charge me for all the improvement? I said, no. We charge you for the one thing, but you get benefits in multiple areas. That's the power of having a system that addresses one root cause, which is the fear, and gets you free of the fear. When you are free of the fear, your entire life improves in multiple areas. Can I get an amen?
Amen. All right. We are running against the time barrier. I want to be cognizant of your time, my audience's time. Before we hit stop, like what in 3 minutes or less, like what is the thing that if I hit stop and you go, oh my gosh, other than you can go check out Daniel at danielpackard.com or give that too, but you understand what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to, again, my intention here is to help people. The way I can help people the most is to give them a system and an understanding how to address the root cause of the fear, obviously. And so I want to be clear how I'm here to help your audience. I gave a lot of information, but the information is useless. And the reason I say that is your audience already has a lot of information about themselves and they understand themselves, but information and awareness isn't results. So I don't want to be just another person that teaches you a bunch of stuff, but then you're still miserable and unhappy and can't break your patterns. The information that I shared with you not because you can use it to change your life. If you go, oh yeah, fear, it's coming from my body. That's not useful. The reason it's useful is because I've tried to lay out a perceptual framework for you to understand that it's possible and maybe even simple to be free of the fear and the symptoms. So is it logically understandable that what you are struggling with is a symptom of fear? Does that logically make sense?
Yes.
Does it logically make sense that it's not coming from the mind, but maybe originating in the body? Does that make logical sense?
Yes.
Does it make logical sense that this fear, this nervousness could be from a malfunctioning nervous system in the body? Does that make sense?
It does.
Does it make sense that if a system in your body is malfunctioning, making you nervous, that we can repair systems in the body and they can function correctly, and then that nervousness could go away? Does that make logical sense?
Yes.
Does it make logical sense if you had a system with a set of tools designed to bring your nervous system back to health and simple, easy to follow instructions that would bring the nervous system back to health? Does it make logical sense that one could bring your nervous system back to health? You could feel calm, the fear goes away, and then the symptoms of the fear would go away. Does that make logical sense?
Yes.
Okay. If all of that makes sense to you enough to be curious to see if this could work for you, then the next step is for you to go to my website, danielpackard.com, and there you can download this free 90-minute training, the one that Mischa experienced where Mischa felt results. It's called From Stuck to Unstoppable. And in that free training, you're going to get 3 really valuable things. First, you're going to understand in a very simple way that nobody ever taught you what is creating the fear in your nervous system. Secondly, you're going to understand a simple approach to bring your nervous system back to health so you can feel permanently safe and calm from the inside out. And then at the end, you're going to apply one of our techniques to your fear and your anxiety underneath the symptoms. And when you apply that, you will feel measurably in your body, you will feel it measurably calmer. Not only will that let you know this can work for you, but it will also give you hope. I had a client, this was just last week. This was a woman that probably should be worth millions, but is always struggling to cover payroll because she had all the funky 5. And she found out about the work that we do. She found out that we're trying to bring this into schools. She found out that we're working to bring it into companies. And she wanted to try it for herself. And she said, I'm highly skeptical. I said, do this 90-minute training. These were her words. She said, I have spent my 20 years doing meditation, mindset control, breathing techniques, yoga, you name it, I've done it. She said, after doing that 5-minute technique that you teach at the end, I have not felt that calm in 20 years. She said, not only was that incredible, but secondly, it showed me that I can be free of this stuff. So if you have these patterns and behaviors, anxiety, people pleasing, perfectionism, procrastination, low confidence, overthinking, whatever it is, and you've tried stuff and it just keeps happening, and you want to experience firsthand that you can actually be free of this so that you have hope, so that you can get off the hamster wheel and onto the merry-go-round of life, then download the free training at danielpackard.com.
Bam. Amazing. Everybody watching, listening, danielpackard.com. Download the free training. I did the whole thing. It is awesome. Ton of fun, packed with value. It'll blow your mind. What you just heard times 10. Daniel, this has been a ton of fun. I'm going to hit stop and we will say goodbye offline. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Table Rush Talk Show. For resources to help you sell your stuff, go to belove.media/resources. That's belove.media/resources. And be sure to subscribe, comment, 5-star, and share. Thank you again for listening.